Welcome to the Wealth Matters podcast, where investors come together to better understand how to build passive cash flow and create generational wealth without all the confusing mumbo-jumbo. Here's your host and co-author of Amazon #1 bestseller, Alpesh Pamar.
Welcome to Wealth Matters podcast. I am going to talk to Mr. Viktor Jiracek today. He is known as Gainesville's fix and flip king. So we want to talk about how this fix and flip works. We had a couple of guests before, and we went through the fix and flip life cycle, etc. I want to know how Viktor got started today and what his current focus is and where he wants to go. So welcome, Viktor.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Viktor, we always start with this question first every time. Tell us something interesting or funny about yourself.
So what's interesting, it's kind of less relevant now, but like pre-corona. So I've traveled to about like 37, 38 countries. Not recently, obviously, because of, Corona, but yeah, so I've traveled quite a bit.
Wow, that's crazy. So have you done Asia as well?
I did a little bit of Asia, did like Thailand, Myanmar. I haven't done China, Vietnam. I want to do China. It's probably the next
You get
one.
to do China and India.
I did India, actually.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. Where in India?
We did Delhi. We saw all the main sites. We did Taj Mahal.
Nice.
I can remember the city. It's been a while. We did India in 2015, so 6 years ago.
Oh, wow.
We did a lot of the West Coast, and India is so big. I want to go back.
There is so much to see. That's the thing. And it's hard to get to some of these places, so it takes a while. So yeah, no, I of course am from India, right, and moved here about 20 years ago. But yeah, we go back every couple of years, and
awesome.
We try to explore as much as possible. No, that's great. How and when did you start investing in real estate?
Sure. I went full time in real estate about 2.5 years ago. It's about tail end of 2018. I haven't gone back ever since. I just went full time and I've loved it every minute of it.
That's great. And what was your very first real estate investment?
So my first deal was actually a wholesale deal.
Okay.
So I found this great deal with cold calling, and then I assigned it to an investor. I made about $3,000, and $3,000, not like a huge check. It's not like a small check either.
Yeah, it's a good amount for just a wholesale deal, right? To get started. So that showed you. And then what did you do with the $3,000?
Then I did another wholesale deal. So I made 3.5 on that one. And that's when I started fix and flipping, because I would wholesale these deals to like fix and flippers.
Right.
And they would try to beat me up over price, like beat me up over $1,000. And then they would make like 20, 30, 40,000 on it. Like, that's what I want to be doing. That's what I want to do in the fix and flip.
So what was your very first fix and flip, and when was it?
So that was also in 2018. That was also a cold calling lead. It's just a house here in Gainesville, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, about 1,200 square foot. Yeah, we bought it for 105. We put in a little under 30. We sold for about 170. So we made like a little under 30K net profit, and that just kicked it off. And 30K, I don't know for your listeners, that might be a lot, might not be a lot, but it was like, oh damn, this is great. Let's do more of it. It's been, just doing more ever since.
Right. It means any amount, it all depends on how much money and time you put in. I don't look at, 1,000 or 3,000 or 5,000. Let's say if you only put 1,000 and you get another grand in a month, that's crazy, right? So it's basically, that's how I look at it, because you got to check ROI and ROT, right? So how long did it take you?
So for that one, we bought it in November, and then we sold it in, I think it was early February. So
that's fast.
Actual renovation was about 8 weeks, and then we listed it and had an offer within 2 weeks, and then it took like 30 days to close. So it wasn't like it took that long in terms of time frame. Like, it was pretty quick in and out. But yeah, we were able to turn it so quickly. But I'd say it's a great deal. We learned a lot too. That's the other thing.
That's very important, right? I don't care how much money you make in your first 2-3 deals, but it's very important to capture as much knowledge as possible, right? Education, because you pay for education one way or another, right? And if you are getting paid to get educated, I would take it, right?
Yeah, well, that's the truth. It's like, learn from someone else or learn on your own.
Yes.
Like, learn on your own is trial and error, and I think that's more expensive.
Yes, it is. I agree. So that first fix and flip worked out? And have you done any buy and hold at all, or you only focus on fix and flip?
I've done a little bit of both. I just like to fix and flip so much. I have a couple rentals right now, 2 or 3 rentals right now. And I did a lot of BRRRR deals. I've done like, I think 8 to 12 BRRRR deals and ended up just selling them. So like we held on to them for a little bit, just sold them.
Got it.
I just like to keep the money moving. I like the process of the fix and flip. Like you're in, you fix it up, you're out, you can move on to the next project. I just like the process. I like the big checks too. I'll eventually get to more of like the passive income, like buy and hold. There's nothing wrong with that. I just want to accumulate right now.
Right. And if that's your full-time thing, so that's one thing I keep telling my listeners, that I don't do fix and flip because I'm focused on buy and hold, and I have a lot of other businesses. But because fix and flip is an active business, you can't just decide to, do it on site that, I'm going to spend 2-3 hours every week and it will work, right? You got to be involved, right? So that's the key. And as you said, because of that, you want to have a mentor, right? If you really want to succeed in that space. So this is great. What do you like and don't like about fix and flip?
Oh, sure. So let's start with what I do like. It's really cool to see the transformation of a house. Like it's really crummy and outdated. And then step by step, it suddenly becomes really nice and modern and everyone wants to live there. So like you clear everything out and then you like do the paint and then you like do the flooring and then you like put in new stuff like kitchen, bathroom, all that stuff. It's like, wow, you really see the transformation. And just to be able to visualize that from the beginning is really cool. Not everyone can do that. And that's just a really cool skill to have. Like this is what it's going to look like when it's done. So that's what I do like about it. I also like the big checks. I mean, can't turn that down. So I like that. What I don't like about it, this is what there is a benefit, like with buy and hold. Like buy and hold, like you get that money forever, right?
Yes.
You have one property, okay, you can, cash in on that for a very long time. With a fix and flip, there is that element of like, okay, I have this deal, but okay, when's the next deal coming?
It's transactional, right? You got to do the transaction.
Yeah, so you are in and out. There are benefits to it, and for your listeners, I do recommend like you can do a balance of them. Like I always teach, like do a flip, do a rental, do a flip, do a rental. Every flip you do, you'll generate a good amount of capital. You can put that as a down payment into a rental. You just do that forever,
Yeah, that's a great idea. Actually, that makes sense. So you are pretty much you are using the profit you got and put it in the rental, right? So it's awesome. The one thing, and I may be wrong, but one thing I don't like about fix and flip would be the tax side. And I always look at tax benefits because I am in San Francisco Bay Area. So California, we already pay like in total most probably 40 to 50% income tax. And if I'm gonna get a short-term capital gain, that's not worth the effort. So that's one of the things I don't like in fix and flip. But I may be wrong, as I said. I know I haven't done.
There's tax mitigation strategies. Again, if you do like a flip rental, that'll offset it. There's some other things. I mean, you can always move to Florida. That's an option too.
Yes. No, that's so another question I always ask, and I think a couple of my friends tried fix and flip, and first time it worked. As you said, sometimes it's a beginner's luck, right? So it worked and they were like very happy. Oh, I made 50 grand. Of course, they had put in $1 million, right? So 50 grand each, so it's still good deal. And the second fix and flip would not sell.
Interesting.
Stayed on the market for 3 months. So what would you do if a fix and flip doesn't sell?
You have a couple options. So I'd say like the first option is see what's going on. So like do a deeper dive analysis. So if there's no showings, like if nobody's seeing the place, it's probably overpriced, especially in today's hot market. That's probably the first thing to look at. If you are getting showings, I would see what feedback are you getting from those showings. Are they saying like, oh, we love everything, but the kitchen's bad? So that's kind of how you have to look at it. And then if it's a fixable problem, fix it. If it's not a fixable problem, you just kind of have to deal with it. So that's probably the first thing is, look at what you can do with regards to actually selling the property, because that's probably going to be easiest. Second option, I've done this too. Like I had a property, like we bought it for 87, we put in like 10 into it, and then we're going to sell for 140. So, decent profit. We got under contract. The issue is it didn't appraise. So we were at 140.
That's what I was going to ask.
So it appraised for 109, which was like, whoa. And then the buyer was asking like, oh, can you still close at 109? It's like, no way, we're going to lose money.
Right.
That appraiser was crazy. And so what we did with that one, we turned it into a rental.
Yes.
And that was our secondary option. And we started to cash for like $300 a month, which isn't bad.
Right.
No, I'm not mad at that. that. And then we listed it like a year later, and then it sold and it appraised and it, got full asking and all that stuff. So you have a couple options. If it's a higher end property, you can do it like an Airbnb, but it is important to have those multiple exit strategies. I'd say the vast majority of our properties do sell. I think it's only been like once or twice, and I think that was one of them. But it's important to know like what's your other options as well.
Now, that's a great point as well, because you got to have multiple exit strategies in real estate, right? With stocks, or if you're doing something else, it's buy and sell, right? You're in or out, and it's so liquid that you are okay. If I feel like I'm losing, you are out, right? And it's also emotional. On real estate side, you can't be emotional. It's not liquid, so you got to have multiple exit strategies, right? Maybe, I always look at it converting to in a rental, but I heard from some people they can do lease options or owner financing just to get it going. So that makes sense. So can you take us through the process you have to go through when you're looking at a property, right?
Yeah.
And then you figure out what needs to be fixed and then how you go about it?
Yeah, no, happy to. So I like to, because I've been doing this for a little bit, and I like to keep it as simple as possible. So it's all about the numbers for me. And it really comes down to two numbers. So it's like the ARV, like what you can sell it for, ARV, and then what you need to put into like repairs. And that's how you know it's a deal. The thing with flipping is there's so many variables to look at. You just need to simplify it and dilute it to like its bare essence. Like with fix and flip, it's like, okay, how many bedrooms, bath is it? Is it, what school is it in? Like how big is the property? Like where is the property? Is it a good location? Like is it a dirt road? Is it a paved road? And there's all these different variables, but you just really need to look at those two numbers, like repairs and ARV. I mean, if you have those two numbers, then you know what a good price is to pay for it. And then ARV bakes into a lot of those things, because if others, houses are selling in that area that are like the same school district, same like road system, whatever, this property is going to sell like that as well. That's how I look at it. So it's those basically two things. So a lot of my analysis is like, okay, what can I sell this place for? And then the other part of the analysis is like, okay, what do I need to put into this place? Like if it needs a new roof, okay, I need to account for a new roof. If it needs a new kitchen, I'll put in a new kitchen. But it's just accounting for all those different variables to help the process.
Got it. So once you figure that out, do you follow? Because I've seen that most of the people talk about that 70%. Mm-hmm. So that's what you want to, that should be your all-in cost. So 70% off the ARV, right? After rehab value is the all-in cost. That's what a lot of people look at. Just that 70% number does not work in Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. It's usually, I'll say most of the time I've seen people, I think 70% worked most probably till 2015. But now I see most of the time 85 to 90%. Do you think it's worth to take that kind of risk? Because when you are putting, buying $1 million property and then putting like 300,000 in it?
So I would recommend, this is how I did. So when I got started, I was actually trying to market in Miami, and it was like 3 months I was cold calling.
Same.
Exactly. It's a very similar market. I was cold calling. It's like 8 a.m. I'd call up the seller like, hey, any interest in selling? And they were like, well, no, you're the fifth person who's called me today. Right. Like 8 a.m. and I'm the fifth person who's called them. So they're getting like hundreds of phone calls. And then I switched markets to Gainesville. It was night and day difference. It's like, hey, nobody's called me about this property before. Like, yeah, I want to sell. I've been thinking about it. So what I recommend is for folks to shift more towards like these secondary markets or smaller markets. I had like almost zero luck in Miami, but then switching to Gainesville just to have that huge difference. So for your folks in San Francisco, like if they can do something in a smaller market, they're just going to have a lot more success, a lot less competition. Like the numbers make more sense. Like for me, I still stick to 70% rule or pretty damn close. Just because I know, I can get those numbers. I'm in a smaller market, so I can afford to do that.
And then when you are choosing the fix and flip properties, do you have a number in mind for within how many months you want to get out of that deal, right? Is it a month? Is it 6 months max? Or, sometimes it takes forever because people try to put a lipstick on a pig and then it doesn't sell, right?
No, that happens too. Yeah, how we do it, we're typically in and out 4 months from closing table to closing table. So obviously we buy it, and then on average takes about a month for renovation is how we look at it. And then we list it, the market's hot. So within a week, we get multiple offers. And then to close, it takes 30 days, 45 days. So typically 4 months, end to end. Sometimes it takes more, sometimes it takes less. I think the quickest one we've done is what was that one? I think one of them took, I think like 40 days, but
Oh,
that was
wow.
like, it just needed paint and flooring.
Right.
And then we listed it and it was a cash buyer. So I was like,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
we got lucky on that one, but it's typically about 4 months is what we
I
account for.
see. I see. So then, and have you had any instance where, you didn't finish in 4 months and it took longer and then you figured out why and you don't want to do this again?
So it was that's happened before where it took longer. Why is it take? Well, recently what happened, there was a deal of mine that's actually closing Monday that I'm selling, like closing, selling. And that one was a permit issue. And what happened was we got a stopped work order in the middle of the job. And like we were pulling permits, like the roofer pulled a permit, like the plumber pulled a permit. And for some reason they're being a stickler. We're like, we were pulling the necessary permits, but then they're like, oh, well, you didn't pull a permit for this. And like, yeah, we did. So we dealt with that entire process. And that delayed it 3-4 months. So that was an issue. But that one, eventually sold. And especially with where the market's at, like it's not terrible if you get, not the worst thing in the world if you get a delay, because then on this one, luckily, I was going to initially sell it for I was going to sell it for 210, and now I have under a contract to sell for 243. So the
Oh,
price
wow.
appreciated that much.
Yeah. Last year and a half has been ridiculous.
Yeah. So it's not the worst thing in the world just to wait on
Right.
the property. We can talk about how much longer this market's going to be like this, but
Yes, I do want to
okay.
know. Of course, every market is different. So I tell people that real estate, every market acts a little bit differently, right? So even Miami or Orlando is different than Gainesville, right?
Yeah.
So and Bay Area is totally different because we are on average now at 1.5 million for a single family house. It's totally unaffordable. It just doesn't make sense, and I can't wait for it to correct. But
Yeah, what a world.
my other question is, what kind of people do you need in the team? Who are your team members? Of course, everyone knows you need a general contractor, but who all go together, and what's your role in that team?
Sure. So I still run a pretty small team. So I did about, for some context, made 20 fix and flips last year, 30 fix and flips this year's the goal. And it's still a pretty lean team. So it's me, a project manager, and then like an assistant. That's pretty much it. So it's still a pretty small team. In terms of team, like I'm still like going out there putting the offers on the places. I have someone managing the rehab suspension with the project manager.
Right.
I'm still doing a lot of it, like paperwork, but just keep it pretty lean. I work with a lot of wholesalers to get deals.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, about half my deals do come from wholesalers.
Okay.
So that helps as well. But I still do a little bit of my own marketing to get my own deals. And that's pretty much it. So I just keep busy that way.
I see.
So it's a pretty lean team. Probably my next hire is likely like an acquisitions manager, like someone who's out there putting offers on places and making it happen. That's probably my next one.
And do you have a realtor's license, or do you need a realtor's license?
I don't, and I don't think you need one. I think a lot of people get caught up in a lot of these details where like they're like, okay, I want to get started flipping. Okay, great. Like, okay, let me get an LLC set up. Let me get business cards. Let me get a website. Let me get, all these different softwares. Let me get a realtor's license. And they're a couple months into it, they spend all this money and like there's not much closer to a deal.
Right.
So I always recommend like flip it on its head. Like some of that stuff is important, don't get me wrong, but like first get out there, start making offers on places, and you can always figure out those details later. Like let's say you do get a deal, but I think people just do it kind of backwards and they spend all this money and they're like, oh well, I've spent a couple grand, I'm nowhere closer, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Sometimes they give up thinking, oh, I spent 3 months and I haven't done anything. I've already wasted time and money, and then they decide to move on, right? So let's talk about your flips now again. What was your best flip so far?
Sure. So
and why?
Yeah. So one of our best flips here, it was we bought it for 73. We put in about 50 or 60, and then we sold for 200. So we netted like 64K net profit, which is good. Maybe for like where you're at in San Francisco Bay Area, like that's nothing. But over here, it's it's good.
Yeah, again, but your investment was only what, 110. Over here, you have to put like 800 grand to get 200 grand. So
right. Yeah, so it's a little bit different, but like a good percentage ROI. So this one came from a wholesaler. there. Just took down the deal. We almost actually didn't complete it, interestingly enough, because like there was a mold issue. So we had to do mold remediation.
Oh.
And it was me and a partner on that one. And the partner kind of got scared with the mold remediation because the neighbor across the street, he also wanted to buy the house and we kind of beat him to it. And the neighbor across the street wanted to make an offer on the place. And we were competing initially to get it. So we got the deal, which is great. And then we had this mold issue and we kind of got scared with it. And then we asked the person across the street, like, hey, do you still want to buy it? Luckily, they said no, because we would have taken a break even on that one. And then we found like a mold remediation. We were getting quotes like 25,000 for mold remediation. And then we reached out to someone in our network and we got it done for like $8,000. And it wasn't that bad. It was just a little bit in the basement.
Right.
But we got the deal done and it was one of our best deals,
What was your worst flip and what did you learn from it?
It was probably kind of the one I was mentioning earlier. That one was break even. The one that we bought for 87, put in 10, 15, sold for, I think we sold it for 130, and then we had some seller credits. So that was break even, and it was break even. So we bought it with private money, and then as soon as it didn't appraise the first time because it was an FHA appraisal, and the most likely buyer for that house was going to be FHA. So we figured like, okay, well, we should do something with this, because we were told for FHA, like it sticks to the property, that appraisal for 6 months. So even if we were getting another buyer in there, it just likely wasn't gonna happen. So we're like, okay, let's take it down, turn it into a rental. But our private money guy was like, hey, I need my money back. I got some other investment. So we had to refinance it. And part of the BRRRR strategy, like there's nothing wrong with it. It has its pros and cons. People don't really talk about the fees, like the fees to finance it, and then the fee to refinance it. We spent, I think, about 10 grand, probably 5 to 10 grand.
A lot. Yeah. A lot, actually. I know, because I have done BRRRRs. So
yes.
I exactly know the fees kill you. Because I was comparing and I'm like, the fees were same for $100,000 house and $1 million house. Like comparing this, it's 10%, 10 grand is 10% of property, right? It's a big deal when you look at it from percentage. So now to break even, I got to earn rental for a year, then I get my fees back first.
Exactly. So we would have made 10K, which 10K isn't terrible, but we would have made a profit. But that refinance, and then we eventually listed it and sold it, but that refinance just killed all our profits. So we were basically at break even. So that was probably the worst deal. Worst deal. Like it wasn't that bad. I mean, there's just a lot of headache and like time into it. But we just kind of got unlucky with the appraisal, honestly. Like if the first appraisal would have gone through, we would have been fine and made a profit. But and that's part of it. Like it is a numbers game. Like people talk about that. I found as you start to do this more and more, like some of those odd unique things that are like a 1% chance of happening start to happen just because you're doing so much volume. So it's just a part of the game. So no hard feelings on that property.
Yeah, no, you'll always have those deals, right? And you learn a lot out of it. So those are needed. What is your opinion about what's going on in the housing market? Are you worried or not?
I wouldn't say worried. I just think we had a huge shift in like supply and demand. So where supply, like inventory is really low. So for Florida numbers, so active listings pre-corona, like how many houses were for sale in Florida pre-corona is about 136,000 at any given time. And then now it's about 50,000 with like corona. So the inventory is like really dropped. It's cut by half and then some. The supply is really down, and then demand is higher because interest rates dropped and like they're still really low. It's like 2.85% on a 30-year fix to get a loan, which is pretty much free, especially with inflation. Like you're getting paid.
I think you are getting paid, right? That's what I keep telling people, that what's the use of your good credit score if you don't have a mortgage, right?
Exactly.
With a 4% inflation and 3% interest, you're getting paid to take a loan.
You're getting paid to own a house, so that's how I see it. I think it's just a shift in supply and demand. I think like in terms of fundamentals, like people can, like the credit is still there. It's not like a credit bubble like 08, 09. It's more like a supply demand shift. I think moving forward, it's just going to be like a slow cool down. I think we're starting to see that a little bit. I don't think it's going to be a crash. The prices might correct a little bit. I don't think it's going to be like 08, 09. Probably if so, it's going to be less bad, less.
I don't think it will be like 08, 09 for sure, but there should be a correction. That's what I feel like. It's been a while. It's just the free money has to stop at some point.
Well, that's the choice we have. You can continue to get free money and high inflation, or turn off the free money and then adjust interest rates.
Right.
So we'll see. I think we're going to take the easy route, which is
we have been for the past 10 years, so it will continue.
So we'll see. Yeah. When it comes to that, like if you're worried about inflation, you got to stick with tangible assets, like real stuff, because that's gonna it's stuff you can touch. You can touch a house.
I agree, and that's what I focus on: tangible assets.
Yes.
I always and look at alternative investments. Are there anything other than Wall Street? And of course, that's where you look at tangible assets.
Right.
Now, that's great.
Real estate's a winner.
Yep. Let's take a quick break, and after the break, we'll go to the same questions I ask every guest.
Thanks for listening to the Wealth Matters podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes so others can enjoy the show too. Have a great week and happy investing.
Welcome back to Wealth Matters podcast. Victor shared a lot of golden nuggets today about fix and flip. I actually enjoyed a lot. Victor, are you ready for fire round?
I'm into it. Let's do it.
Would you be changing any business or investment strategy after coronavirus is over?
I don't think so. I don't plan on doing it, especially with what I do, fix and flip. Like the fundamentals are pretty easy. You're buying low, selling high. Like that's literally all you're doing. Buying low, selling high. And that dynamic that's just never going to go away.
Favorite real estate or finance or any other related book?
I think what really kicked me off was like Rich Dad Poor Dad. I know everyone probably says that.
Everyone, me too.
But it just like opened my mind. And some of the stuff, like it's really good at a high level. Some like the specifics, it's a little outdated. But like at a high level, it's like, wait a second, okay, I'm on this side of things. I need to be on this side of things. So just to open up your mind, I think that really kicked it off for me. And then it's been good ever since. I met Robert Kiyosaki at a book signing. This was about a decade ago. It's a long time.
Oh, wow. Okay. I met him and his CPA,
nice.
Tom Wheelwright, whose book Tax-Free Wealth I love as well. I met both of them at New Orleans Investor Conference in 2018.
Yeah.
So it was great. Any tool or website you recommend?
Tool or website? You know what? I actually use Zillow a lot. I know some real estate agents don't like it for whatever reason. I like it.
Right.
The estimate is always off, but that doesn't matter. I still like it as a tool. I use it a lot, and I think it's just a great tool, and it's I use it probably every day, honestly.
Yeah, and it's free.
It is free.
Can't go wrong. Any advice for beginner investors?
I think the biggest thing, just building on the theme I was talking about earlier, just get started. Focus on like getting out there, making offers. A lot of people get in their head, especially when like making low offers, like what if they say no? What if I get yelled at? And they find out as soon as they start making offers, like that typically doesn't happen. People are typically nice. And that's like the number one key to success, like getting deals, is making offers. Like if you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So if you're not out there making offers, like you're not going to get deals. Like I can guarantee that.
How do you give back?
How do I give back? So I flip houses, and as I was doing that, people started to ask me for like advice because they wanted to do it too. So I actually mentor people too on like how to start their own little flipping business.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. How can my listeners reach out to you?
I have a free Facebook group called 6-Figure House Flipper. It's on the wall behind me.
Oh, nice.
You can see the recording, if not. But 6-Figure House Flipper, it's just a free Facebook group. I share tips, resources, like me working on my project. So I think it's a great tool for your listeners just to learn more about it.
Thank you so much, Victor, for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to the Wealth Matters podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes so others can enjoy the show too. Have a great week and happy investing.